To my knowledge, Facebook hasn't rolled out any major updates in recent months, but that doesn't mean the updates they're making aren't still impactful to your account. I recently noticed a new option for budgeting control that I think could be a really good option for quite a lot of accounts. So in this video, I want to walk you through what that new budgeting option is, talk about how it works, and discuss when it might make sense in your accounts. We're going to be in a live client account today, so I can show you the differences in these budget settings, but that does mean a decent amount of areas are going to be blurred out. You'll still be able to understand the gist of it, but just know that's what's going on. Let's start by covering the different budget controls that we've had in the past. First is going to be the campaign level budget, which right here you can see we have $246 a day set at the campaign level. I'm on the campaigns tab. But then there's also an option here, let me increase this column just a little bit, where it says using ad set budget. And that means that each ad set is going to be given its own daily budget rather than living at the campaign level. Now, what's the big difference between these two? For an ad set level budget, actually, let's go ahead and just click into the campaign. For an ad set level budget, each ad set is going to be given its own daily budget to be spent each and every day. And you'll see over here, performance-wise, that means that pretty much all of them get an equal amount of impressions, probably an equal amount of spend. There's definitely some variance in between these because the actual audiences are different, but for the most part, everything gets served pretty evenly across the time frame that we've got. And that's because we have those controls at the ad set level. Now, in a different example, a campaign like this that has a campaign level budget is going to be a little bit different. If I click into this one, and we're now on the ad set level within the manager, you'll see that the budget is set at the campaign level, but the audiences are generating impressions and cost at drastically different levels. This is because with a campaign level budget, Facebook is going to shift spend into the ad set that it thinks is most likely to get your desired outcome. You'll notice in this account, results, there's nothing on here. That's because of a different circumstance that has to do with broken tracking. Ignore that part. But in an account that's optimizing toward these results, on average, Meta will usually show the ad set that is most expected to drive those results, whether it's a website conversion, click to the landing page, engagement with the ads, whatever your campaign goal is, Meta is going to share the budget across these different audiences to try and get you as many results as you can at the campaign level. In this campaign, that means that broad targeting up at the top got the majority of the budget, but the second one after that is targeting parents, and then the third and fourth ones down below, those are targeting slightly different subsets of the same audience, and they are still a pretty good size. They're not drastically smaller than the broad targeting and the parents, but they're just not expected to perform as well based on Meta's expectations. That's why they're not getting shown as much. So this is the opposite end of the control that we have. This is where Meta has all of the control over where the budget goes, and as you can see, budgets are wildly different across ad sets, where one has almost $2,200, and the one on the bottom has only $8 spent so far this calendar month. So those are the two drastic ends of how we can control our budget, either fully controlling it ourselves at the ad set level or giving Meta full control. But what's this middle ground? To be able to set this up, I'm going to create a new campaign. We're just going to pick leads because that's what my previous campaigns have been. And then right away, we have the budget section up here at the top. It's going to default to campaign level budget, which, as we just learned, gives Meta full control over which ad set is given your budget on any given day. It still tries to maximize your results, but it does give Meta all the control. So just know that this is basically the handing over the keys option. The second option is going to be the one that we saw at the beginning, where you have ad set level control, and everything is going to be served based on the budget that you gave that ad set. Now, the new option here, which you are automatically opted into, as you can see, is kind of a middle ground, and this is something I actually like. Share some of your budget with other ad sets. This says that Facebook will share up to 20% of your ad set budget with other ad sets within the same campaign when it's likely to improve your performance. Now, the reason I created a new campaign is because if you already have an existing campaign that uses ad set level budgets, you are not able to activate this control. This is going to be only for new campaign builds moving forward, so keep that in mind. But we're going to hop into Facebook's help section to talk about what this actually means and how this manifests in your campaign. I'm going to use this table that Meta put together to try and illustrate how your budget can be shared. We've got 2 different ad sets, and then there's a description as to what's happening on each of these. And then we've got what the different levels of spend are going to be. So for these 2 ad sets, let's say we have $10 and $20 in the average budget that you've given it. So you would apply these at the ad set level, but then automatically each ad set can always spend up to 75% over your daily budget. This is true of existing campaigns set at the ad set level. So here's what that number would be. For the $10, you can spend up to $17.50. For the $20, you can spend up to $35. Now here's where things get interesting with this new setting. The shared budget per day. Up to 20% of the budget for each of these ad sets can be shared across different ad sets. So for the $10 ad set 1, you can share up to $2 with other ad sets in the campaign. For the $20 ad set, you can share up to $4 of that budget with other audiences. If you then multiply that by 7, you get effectively $14 and $28 that you could share in budget. And then if we do some simple calculation, we get a maximum daily spend that we can have. Now, I'm not normally one to call out problems, but I actually think these calculations are wrong. I don't think this is what they're supposed to be. The maximum daily budget spend is your daily budget plus the shared budget per day. So you can combine those first and then multiply that by 1.75 to get 75% above that. And now here's why I say these calculations are wrong, and I'll show you what I think they should be. For ad set 1, we have a given daily budget of $10, and then up to 20% of budget can be shared from other ad sets. So in my calculation, this audience could get up to $4 from a different ad set. So if we add 4 to 10, you get 14. And then you multiply that by 1.75, and that gives us $24.50. So by my calculation, ad set 1 should have upwards of $24.50 to spend. Now here's why Meta has this at 21. They took the $10 average daily budget, but then they added the $2, which is the 20% that comes from that ad set, and then multiplied by 1.75. That equals 21. So I'm not entirely sure if the calculations here are right or if they're wrong and we're just having a misunderstanding. But effectively, this ad set 1 can have anywhere from $21 to $24.50 on daily spend. Now, just to clarify, the reason that it doesn't quite make sense to me is because I'm not sure if you can only accept upwards of 20% of your daily budget or if you can only give away 20% of your daily budget. If ad set 2 has $4 to give, but ad set 1 is only eligible to accept $2 more, then sure, this is the maximum daily spend. If ad set 2 is eligible to give up $4 because it's 20% of the $20, and ad set 1 could technically absorb all of that, meaning that it could have upwards of $14 a day, it could end up being $24.50. Again, this is semantics. It's not a massive difference, but just know that you can spend quite a bit more than what your daily budget allotment could be. This is a setting, like I said, that lives at the campaign level, and you'll only be able to enable it for a new campaign. You will not be able to turn this on for existing campaigns. So now let me talk about when I think this might be a good option to use. In this campaign that we looked at earlier, we are using 4 different ad sets with a campaign level budget. Right now, everything is going to be spread based on what Meta wants to use because we're using that campaign level budget. If you don't mind which audience your budget gets allotted to and you really just want to maximize for results, campaign level budgets are great. There's no reason not to use them. They've always performed really well for me. You just need to be willing to accept the fact that some audiences might not be served even a small fraction of the time that the others are served. And in many scenarios, some audiences just get completely turned off. As long as you're willing to accept that, a campaign level budget can be a really good option for you. Now on the other end, we've built out this campaign to have a very specific purpose. Our goal is to try and impact different physical locations by giving them more or less budget on a rolling weekly basis. Right now, everything is set up very evenly because that's our starting point. But over time, if we notice that the customer levels are dropping off in this location, we're going to give this ad set more budget and cut it from others. We already have one location that actually closed down here at the bottom. So we turned that one off, and now we don't have that one running anymore. There's a very specific strategy behind these different ad sets and why we're trying to have the budget be controlled on a daily basis. Meta will not know which location we're trying to impact and won't understand that just because this one has really good performance does not mean that it should get more budget. If anything, That's the opposite. If this one performs well, we should probably pull back, start impacting other locations that are not performing as well. But let's say for this third campaign, which mirrors the first one that we looked at a little bit, we don't have those type of specific location controls that are needed, but we also don't want to completely ignore specific audiences. This would be a campaign that if I were to recreate it, I would enable that ad set level shared budget because I would be fine with one audience taking a little bit more of the lion's share of spend if it performs better, but I want to make sure that we keep the lights on in all of the audiences across the board. That's where this ad set level budget sharing is going to be really valuable. You have some need to keep the lights on for some audiences, but you also want to lean into Meta's machine learning, see some better performance, and you want them to be able to shift budget into the audiences that are performing better and away from those that aren't performing as well. Overall, this is a really simple change, but it could have a really big impact on your performance. All you have to do is check a box and then manage your daily budgets at the ad set level the way that you'd want them to be. Keep an eye on performance, and then decide if it makes sense for you. I'm honestly a big fan of this adjustment. I think this is really helpful because there's been a number of times where I don't want to give Facebook full control, but I also don't want to have to manage the daily budgets to try and lean into the trends in performance that are showing up on a daily or weekly basis. So this kind of hits that nice little middle ground and kind of gives you the best of both worlds. If you have any additional questions about this ad set level shared budget or anything else in the Meta platform, leave us a note in the comments below.
Thanks for watching our video. We really appreciate it. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up below. If you really liked it, maybe think about subscribing to the Paid Media Pros YouTube channel and you'll get alerted every time a new video drops.
If you really liked it, you can help support the channel by checking out some of the t-shirts that we're wearing on our merch shelf, as well as looking at the Super Thanks button.